So we had Doc Walker on the show earlier. He joins us every Tuesday at 7:20, and he was talking about the guys who contributed mostly on the defense that we hadn't really been hearing from earlier in the season, whether it was Cleaky Hudson, Casey Toohill with the 2 sacks. And it begs the question, the Commanders' defense allowed over 30 points in 4 straight games. They play the Falcons, and they held them to 16 points, forced 3 turnovers.
And by the way, that was shocking that they were giving up those numbers because we thought that maybe it wasn't going to be a top 5 defense, but we thought maybe top 10 based on last year. And the fact that they were giving up that many points in consecutive weeks was shocking to me.
Right now, there are only 3 teams in the NFL that give up more yards per game than the Washington Commanders: the Steelers, the Chargers, and the Broncos. So they're 29th.
That's points or yards?
In yards per game, allowing 377.2 yards per game. In points, they're ranked even lower. They are currently ranked 30th, allowing 29.3 points per game. So anyway, 29th, 30th. But we've seen under Jack Del Rio's tenure as the defensive coordinator, this defense improve after a rough start to almost each and every season. Do we believe that that is going to happen this season as well? If you want to chime in, 800-636-1067.
They're definitely going to get better. I just don't know how much more up the rankings they can go. Maybe like 20th?
I think a lot is just dependent on schedule. I really do.
It's
I
on
think
matchups,
that, what troubled me about this game.
But you would have thought
what troubled me about this game
Chicago.
Was they gave up 400 yards, right? But Chicago woke up the week before.
That's true.
Against
Arizona.
Denver.
Or, I'm sorry, against Denver, right.
And then there was a quick turnaround. It was a short game. It was Thursday, and Justin Fields stayed hot. He had back-to-back games with 4 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns in 2 games. The 400 yards allowed, and Desmond Ritter.
That's a little alarming.
But
he's
some of
so
that
bad.
Was,
Desmond
we were up
Ritter
2 touchdowns. We were just trying to keep them in front of us.
Okay.
No big plays. I'm not. Too
Atlanta
about
averages 330 a game on offense. So all right, so you averaged about you allowed 70 more. So
I wasn't that impressed.
I'd give you that.
I wasn't that impressed. And look, I think they're going to have some success against the Giants because they're the Giants. I just think the better teams that have capable offenses are going to expose the weaknesses.
Which are what on their defense?
I think the number one weakness is they give up big plays. They tried to address that in the secondary, drafting Emmanuel Forbes, drafting Quan Martin, and maybe they'll be able to change that. But teams consistently have hit big plays on them. I also don't think they're as good at stopping the run as we thought they would be, which is a little surprising to me. The linebackers, all right, Jamin Davis is maybe having a good year and is playing better, and Barton's coming off his best game, but the linebackers have been exposed at times. I just think teams find matchups in their favor against the Commanders.
I just don't think there's huge, obvious weaknesses. I mean, maybe Manny Forbes was, and they got a better performance.
I mean, they're not going to give up 30 a game,
No.
more than a few times.
No, I think that's
the rest of the way. I mean, they're not going to give up 30 this week against the Giants.
Nope.
Eagles, different story. Patriots are not going to get to 30.
Nope.
Seahawks, maybe.
Unlikely.
Giants again. I mean,
nope.
It's just about, like you said, it's about matchups, and you're going to face some really high-octane offenses like the Dolphins and the Niners.
Dolphins will,
Philly.
sure. Dolphins will score all day on us.
But for the most part, the numbers will improve just based on the quarterbacks you're facing, the teams you're facing.
All right.
And I'm wondering, do you think that after the season, people are going to say, man, Jack Del Rio needs to go? Now, maybe he's going anyway because Harris will just clean house, but
it just depends.
If they improve a lot, then, maybe fans will ease up a little bit on them.
We all thought that they had – I'm the only one that was differed a little bit. I thought if he kept them competitive and they were in the playoff hunt down the stretch, he might still find a way to keep his job. If they found their quarterback, you can make that argument. Who knows? Like, in other words, if they go 8-9, like you say, and the NFC is so mediocre that gets in, does that keep Ron's job? They get to the playoffs, but with a losing record.
I would think no.
And then presumably lose in the first round.
I would think no, but could be wrong. I don't know what Harris is thinking.
Yeah.
I would think Harris is going to just wait the season out and just bring all his new people in. Not going to do it mid-season. Going to wait until February.
Well, what's the threshold where he keeps them? What if they go 9-8?
I just don't see it happening,
What
man. I mean,
no, I'm just asking if they do find a way to get 9-8.
I don't think that's good enough.
All right, what about
Just
10? What about 10-7?
I mean, I don't.
10 wins, you can't fire him. If they got to 10, you can't fire him.
Do you really think they're getting to 10 though?
I don't,
No.
but I'm just saying.
All right, 10 wins,
I don't know
maybe not.
anything.
Maybe not. I don't know. But I would think that
I don't
more
think
often than not, when a new owner comes in, he's going to make major changes, including the coaches.
Yeah, but it doesn't always happen right away.
Well, it's not going to happen right away. It's going to happen in the offseason.
John Keim has a couple of stats on ESPN.com about the Commanders' defense and their weakness so far. If you want to chime in, 800-636-1067. And I don't know how you fix it other than the guys have to play better. So there are only 5 teams in yard per pass attempt allowed that are worse than the Commanders. And they have allowed the most pass plays of 25 yards or more, 16 through 6 games.
That's a lot.
Maybe you can change something strategically. In this game, they went to the 5-man defensive line, but I don't know that you can do that against all teams. Obviously you're daring Desmond Ridder to beat you.
Yeah, right.
But you're not going to do that
You do it
against
against run-heavy teams.
You're not going to probably do that against
You might
Dak.
do it against Daniel Jones.
Yes, against Daniel Jones, I agree. The defense, I'm no longer going to believe they're capable of being a top 10 defense. I've bought into that in the past. They've got 6 first-round draft picks. It made sense. Yeah, they should be even better. Chase Young's back. They should be even better than last year. But I think it is all reputation and not results. And the results last year were kind of skewed because they played an awful array of quarterbacks.
But if you look like the front...
their schedule last year was really soft.
No, I understand.
And the defense took advantage of it, and that's why they were ranked as high as they were.
But their defensive front they are getting a lot of pressures. They're getting a lot of hurries. So, I mean, they're doing
I know
pretty
statistically
well.
it doesn't feel that way.
I know.
I didn't feel like Ridder was constantly under pressure. I felt like Ridder just made some bad throws.
I think I heard Keim say as I was driving in that Chase might have had the third most hurries or pressures
last week.
No,
yeah.
this week.
Oh, this week?
Last week he had 11, but this week he had a bunch again.
I think he's ranked 5th in quarterback pressures in the entire NFL.
I think he cited hurries, which is different.
Yeah.
It's a different stat.
Mm-hmm. But how come if he's I would think if he's got numbers like that, he would get to the quarterback a little bit more. If he's pressuring quickly.
Well, what John says is when they face us, when they face Washington, they know they got to get rid of the football quick.
Yeah.
And there are some plays, like he said, can't remember who he said, maybe Effie Abada or one of those guys, beat their man right away. But Ridder got rid of the ball in 1.6 seconds.
Yeah.
If he goes 1.9 seconds, he's probably hit.
And he was looking to London every single time.
He just got rid of it quick.
Yeah, there's different metrics. So you can look at the win rate of pass rushers. That doesn't have anything to do with actually touching the quarterback into the quarterback. Because I saw, for example,
that might have been the
Myles
stat.
Garrett faced Trent Williams this week, right?
Yeah.
And Trent Williams is notorious for not giving up any sacks. And I don't know whether Myles Garrett even had a sack in the game, but they said Myles Garrett had a 38% win rate, which was the highest that Trent Williams maybe had ever allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's going against the Hall of Fame.
But Myles Garrett still might not have gotten the quarterback.
I think Chase. I think maybe something like that. I
don't think Garrett had a sack. Could be wrong on that.
But you could still impact the play. I mean, when you rush him
if
into
you force
a throw.
the guy to roll out. I mean, we talked about it. I think one of the biggest plays of the season was Jamin Davis's forced fumble in the game against the Denver Broncos. Well, Chase Young forced the pressure there and forced Russell Wilson to run out to the left, and then Jamin Davis popped him.
I will never pretend to know enough to be like a coordinator on either side of the ball, especially defensively. But I would think that they would incorporate things that worked pretty well this week and complement that with some of the things you were doing earlier.
I agree.
So if that's the 5-man front thing, I would expect we'd see more of that.
And obviously,
because it was successful.
Obviously, give guys like Hill a chance.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't just go back to Emmanuel Forbes just because, like, okay, we sent him a message. I liked what Forbes said. He basically, I'm paraphrasing, but he said something like, he may have been pressing. First round pick, getting paid a lot of money. He wants to make an impression. He wants picks. Yeah. So he's just got to stick with the system.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're going to see him this week.
And I said all along, when you draft the ball hawk, he's going to do what he does.
Yeah.
He's going to take chances. And he got burned. All
right, hit Phil in D.C. He wants to talk a little bit about the topic. Is the defense going to get better?
Let's do it when we come back. Okay. 800-636-1067. If you want to chime in defensively, are they ready to turn it around? Did you see enough good stuff this week? Because I know they're not as bad as they have been statistically. They're going to be better. But how much better can they actually be? Maybe 20th? This is a defense.
That's kind of what I think.
We thought they could be top 5.
Yep.
Right now they're like 29th.
Yeah, I don't think teams are scared of the Commanders' defense. We'll take your calls next at 800-636-1067 here on the Junkies. All right, we're talking about the Commanders' defense, which statistically has been very bad. Of course, they gave up over 30 points in 4 straight games. To their defense, in the wins against Denver and against Atlanta, the key really was the defense turning the games around with turnovers.
No doubt.
And in the losses, look, they got bludgeoned by the Bears, embarrassed on Thursday Night Football. Game got away from them. But it's not like the offense did that much. And same thing in the Bills game.
You just want to see more consistency. That's what you want to see. And you're just not getting it. Now, maybe it'll start. And if you can create turnovers, if you can create 3 a game or 2 a game and win that turnover column, then you're going to win more games than losses. I think that was a huge difference.
A couple weeks ago I said that the defense is all reputation, no results, and I tend to agree with it. But I'm kind of with DB. I do think they'll be better, but I think it's like kind of in that 15 to 20 range, like middle of the road defense. And this is why. And Doc, I can't remember the phrase he uses on our show, but he always says, there's only 4 or 5 of those guys. I don't think they have one of those elite defensive players like a TJ Watt or a Miles Garrett. I think they have some pretty good defensive players. Actually, all the defensive line, Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, they all are very good players. But I don't know if they're that next level. Like, that's what I was hoping for from Chase Young, that he's a disruptor. I know that in some of these statistics he's up there in pressures, but disruptor that forces fumbles, that gets interceptions, we just are not seeing that. Not just from him, from all of the line. So when I watch this game, though they did have 3 turnovers, I just didn't see it consistently enough. Like, it's weird. Ritter dropped back almost 50 times.
Right.
And what, the Commanders end up with 3 sacks?
3, yeah.
Doesn't matter. They got the 3 turnovers.
I agree. But I also put that a lot on Ritter. He stinks. I think a lot of this is dependent on the opponent.
Yeah, but he was pressured into those
I think
throws.
The defense is a lot like the team. Like, they're kind of, I had them 18th on the JPPP. They're not the worst. They're not the best. They're a middle of the road team. So when they face inferior teams, they're going to be okay. And when they face a good, powerful team like the Bills, they get exposed.
I would agree. They don't have a Watt or a Garrett or a Bosa. They don't have that guy. At times, Deron Payne has played like an elite player, but he's just not. He's not consistent enough, and he's a tackle, so he's going to have a lot more guys to get through. But I would agree. They just don't have that legit. You thought Chase Young would be that guy when they drafted him, but he hadn't turned out to be that player. All
right, let's bang out some of these calls. Let's go to, is it Ian? I don't know. Hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. Ian, what's up? You're on with the Junks.
Yeah, I don't think the defense is good. I don't think they are going to be much better. I think when you look at it relative to how much draft capital they spent, 6 first-round picks, I'd venture to say majority of defenses in the NFL don't have anywhere close to 6 first-round picks. Plus the deals that they've given to Allen, Payne, and potentially upcoming to Sweat, the free agent acquisitions, et cetera. The defense is hugely disappointing because the goal isn't to be a top middle of the half NFL defense. When you invest that much with Del Rio, a known defensive coordinator and former head coach, Rivera, a quote-unquote defensive guy, it's immensely disappointing. And I think for me, and I've said this on a couple of other shows, is it just feels like such an interim year, because even though there's so much euphoria and enthusiasm for the season given the ownership change, there's such a dulling of emotions because you kind of know what you're going to get with Rivera. They'll never bottom out. When they lost horribly to the Bears, you kind of felt like they're going to rebound. And then the optimism is muted because you kind of know they're going to lose 3 games in a row again and just kind of middle their way through, end up at 7-10.
Well, if that happens, they'll move on. If that happens, they'll move on.
They're going to move on unless he wins a playoff game, period. He has to show a different trajectory for them to keep him. And that's what's so frustrating, because you kind of can't really buy into anything long term because you kind of just know what the ceiling is.
You're not encouraged that it looks like, I would say if you had to bet money, you'd say at least 60-40, maybe 70-30, that they've found a quarterback they can win with? That's not encouraging to you?
No. I would bet more money than not that he is not the starter.
Oh, you're still on that path. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think he will be.
Well, he's a 5th rounder for a reason, because he holds on to the ball too long, and that is a flaw. If you look at his trajectory, eventually he's going to get hurt. At this clip of sacks and bad decisions, and a lot of people want to parse out if it's the line or him. One of the biggest things true analysts say about sacks is it's a lack of ability to feel the pocket and process information quick enough.
Oh, we've criticized him that way.
He's been playing football long enough to have developed those. So you either have it at this stage or you don't. He's not going to make a miraculous jump from year 2 to 3 in terms of processing the pocket, processing the field, and feeling the pocket. No, I don't feel optimistic at all about him.
All right. Thanks for the call.
Well, I mean, Dak Prescott was sacked last night 5 times.
Yeah.
Kind of what
I will say that Sam is very fortunate. The Commanders are very fortunate that he has not been hurt yet when he's been sacked 34 times. That's a lot of hits, and that doesn't count all the just QB hits. But if you look around the league, how many different starting quarterbacks you've already seen just through 6 weeks, it's a ton. And you're going to see a lot more. Last year there were 67. I think you're going to see more than that this year. So they've been very fortunate that he has not been knocked out of a game and has not missed a game yet. But I do believe that's coming if they don't change what they're doing up front.
I just looked at the Cleveland Browns starting defense. So the Cleveland Browns this year are only giving up 200 yards a game.
That's crazy. It's a crazy number.
Commanders giving up 377. So basically half. They have 3 first-round picks. Mm-hmm. I don't have time to go through every team. The Commanders have 6 first-round picks in this defense, which is an incredible amount, which makes you have these expectations. And to be fair, they had the results last year. Last year, if you look at where their defense finished, it was a top defense. But I do think a lot of it was based on schedule. They gave up, last year by comparison, 304 yards per game, and they gave up 20.2 points per game. So they were 3rd in yardage, and in points they were 8th, 7th or 8th?
Top 10, yeah.
Yeah, they were top 10. So we just assumed,
considerably worse.
Let's just say you're a top 10 defense. We assumed, you add Emmanuel Forbes as a first-round pick, you get Chase Young back healthy, they should be better. I think last year was a bit of a fraud, a mirage.
All right, let's go to Phil.
Because 2 years ago they sucked, remember?
All right, Phil, real quick. Phil, what's up?
Real quick. Yeah, I'll be real quick. So I do think we'll finish, 18th to 22nd in total defense. I have a feeling that, pressures are great, but if you watch Young, he runs by the play too much, and I'll be real brief. A key play for a team that the difference between a 7-10 team and a 10-7 team. We're up 24-10, 3rd and 3. Young gets his hands on Ritter. He slips away, picks up the first down. At that point, I knew I would have to watch the game until the end. When are we going to, as fans, get to be comfortable with pulling away and not having to watch until the very end?
Right, blowing out a team. Blowing out a team, right.
But that's, I will say that's the majority of the NFL. I mean, there are blowouts are more of the outlier. More games and close.
That's true. It's becoming a thing of the past of just kind of getting a lead and sitting on it. The NFL's designed for comebacks and designed for
Yeah,
games.
there a lot of games are one-score games, no
I
doubt.
mean, last night came down to the last drive. Micah Parsons had a sack. Justin Herbert gets picked off, end of the game, 3-point game.
Yeah, but I think his point's well taken. I mean, it's rare that this team just completely beats a team, 31-10.
I think there was a stat, 44% of games where the team wins is trailing at the start of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Is that just this year or historically?
I think it was last year.
But look what the Rams did to the Cardinals. They beat them 26-9. Blew them out. It was never close. I mean, it was close for a lot of the first half, but they blew them out. Can Washington do that to a team? Just blow them out and just run away with the game.
So far this season, they have not been able to do it.
I actually think they can.
All right,
I think they showed their potential. They've shown their potential on both sides. They're capable of anything. But that Philly game, they showed their potential to score. I think they could play better defense.
All right.